So, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Tupadakis, again for the opportunity. My name is Rosario. I'm a fourth-year biomedical engineer with a minor in computer science. And I was in Dr. Tupadakis' Chemistry 2A class, as he mentioned, as well as his seminar. So, I was once, like you, sitting in a desk, listening to Dr. Tupadakis. And so just some background on me is, I came in my first year as a declared computer science major, and I thought that that's what I wanted to do. I've always been regarded as someone who's been excellent with computers. I was always the guy who said, oh, I need some computer help, please help me, Greg, please help me. And this would include professors. Actually, that's how I met Dr. Tupadakis, was he was having computer problems, and I said, hey, I happen to know computers, and fix his computer, and that's kind of how our relationship started, where it was his first office hours. I was in his seminar. I was actually overbooked. I couldn't enter the seminar because there was too many people in it. But just by sheer luck, I guess, I was able to get into the seminar, and it really changed my life. And why do I say this? Is because I may have been good at computer science, but it wasn't my passion. I actually was doing research as a freshman, ECS 99, already had a research position. I actually obtained an internship position at a defense contractor by my first year. But what they had me do was they stuck me in a cubicle and they made me program 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. So that was pretty exciting for maybe the first few days. But after that, it's when I came to the realization this isn't something that I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I'm not going to be in college, work my butt off for 4 years, maybe 5 years, just to do something that I'm not happy with. I'm not going to work this hard in the best years of my life just to do something that, even if it's going to make me money, even if it's going to net me a job. I mean, computer science, everyone says, oh, that's the place to go if you want to get a job. I wasn't going to do something that wasn't going to satisfy me on every level, something that I really wanted to do. And so I actually talked to Dr. Tupadakis about this, and he always hammers the message to you, do what you love, and you're going to find success. Now, I know that's, okay, what does that mean? What is really success? Does that mean doing well in your classes? Not necessarily. What it means is that you can wake up at whatever, let's say it's an 8 a.m. class, wake up and go to class and actually be satisfied with that class. I mean, obviously you're not going to go to all of your classes, but if you know your goal, if you begin with the end in mind and you know where you're going, then that makes all the difference. To know what you personally, internally know is going to lead you to success. And so what I ended up doing was, in my second year, I switched from computer science to biomedical engineering. Now, this was one of the toughest decisions of my life. Why? Because I was actually guaranteed, almost certainly, a 3-year out in computer science. I was already halfway through the curricula. I was doing fairly well in all of the classes. Switching into biomedical engineering, none of my classes were going to transfer over. Nothing. I was pretty much going to start over from scratch. And I was going to certainly have to take a 5th year. But at the end of the day, I decided, you know what? This is what I wanted to do. And that's led to so many opportunities that I can't even imagine that the trajectory of my life would have been this way. Because I switched into biomedical engineering, I was actually made aware of an EMT program on campus. I became an EMT. And because I became an EMT, I actually received a position at the UC Davis Medical Center to create the new procedure to analyze traumatic brain injury non-invasively. And this is actually going to be used for the UC Davis football team in 1 month. It's going to hopefully change a lot of lives. And so, when I say the opportunity is always there, it's only there if you're open to it. And you're only going to be truly open to something if you really enjoy what you're doing, because you're going to have your mind open to every opportunity. Instead of, let's say you're in a major, I don't know, let's say you're pre-med, and you don't necessarily enjoy your classes. You're just going to be so narrowly focused on these classes because you don't enjoy them that you will sometimes miss the periphery. And at the end of the day, the periphery is kind of what matters, actually. It's the details you never saw coming that really change your life. I mean, everyone has a goal, obviously. Everybody kind of has an idea in mind. But I think the adage goes, it's the journey that matters rather than the goal. it's always good to have the goal, but it's what happens along the way that matters. And because I switched into biomedical engineering, I was able to examine the periphery to see what opportunities were there. And it's led to where I am today. And I know it's difficult to switch or difficult to go into something else, but it's going to be worth it because nothing you do ever goes to waste. I mean, people say, oh, you switched to computer science, nothing counts anymore. Well, not exactly, because the reason I have my computer science background, I got my position at the Med Center. I mean, it just so happened that I understand acute trauma, I'm an ENT. I understand medical devices, I'm a biomedical engineer. I understand programming, so I can program the devices. And so every experience you obtain is useful and you can apply it as long as you find something that you really want to do, because you're going to find a way to apply every experience. Nothing will ever be wasted. And so, how does this apply to you? Obviously, I've given you this story of, okay, I switched my major, blah, 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 etc., etc. Well, at the end of your college career, hopefully everyone reaches the end of the college career. I mean, I'd love to stay here forever, but it just won't happen. At the end of the day, you're going to walk 30 steps to obtain a piece of paper, and this piece of paper may just determine the rest of your life. And so you might as well work towards something that you know is going to lead to something that you're going to truly find satisfaction in, even if it's difficult, even if there's people that tell you, oh, you can't do that, because you know what? If you work towards something that you're truly passionate about, that you wake yourself up every day for and know that's what you want to do, you're going to open up your view to things that you may have never foreseen. I mean, I could certainly tell you I never foresaw myself going to be a biomedical engineer, because I hated chemistry. I hated chemistry. In high school, I hated it.
You didn't tell me that from the beginning, Andre.
I absolutely hated chemistry. But because I took the class, and discovered it wasn't so bad. So, at the end of the day, if you find something interesting, take that class. Even if it puts you a little behind schedule, even if you say, oh, why am I going to take this? If something is remotely interesting, that's what college is about, is discovering what you really want to do with your life. And, you know, you may come in with a certain dream, but if you leave with a completely other one, it's for the better. Because if you do what you want to do, it's going to be worth it in the end. And that's what happened to me. And hopefully that, I know that what I say will hopefully put some things in perspective and, you know, get the thought going. And if you have any questions for me, please feel free.
Yeah, please ask any questions you have. Great.
Yes.
What made you decide to go into biomedical engineering as opposed to some other field?
So I've always had my goal in mind was to help people. It was always my intention that I wanted to go into a science or engineering where I would help people. And so computer science, I always thought, oh, I'll build programs for people and then that would be great. But it just wasn't something that I was truly passionate about. I mean, I can code well. I did fairly well in all my computer science classes, but spending 10 plus hours a week in front of a computer screen programming wasn't exactly my idea of fun. And so I went and I took the survey class, BIM 1, and discovered that I had an interest in biology, but I also wanted to apply my engineering mindset to something, and biomedical engineering happened to be it. And so again, that's why it comes down to, if you find something remotely interesting, like let's say there's a class that you would never take and it doesn't count for any of your major requirements, don't be afraid to take that, because you know what, it might lead to opportunities again that you may have never seen. I mean, because I took BIM 1, I found out about that EMT program, and it was completely random. The TA happened to say one sentence. He said, oh, by the way, I think there's an EMT program on campus. And then that was it. And that spurred me to think, oh, there's an EMT program on campus? I didn't know that. So let me try and pursue that. And so I guess that also leads into building a network, is that you want to be around people who give you more ideas. I mean, all of you can determine what you want, but talking to other people of similar-minded nature leads you to discover other things you may not have really thought about. And so, building a network is really key.
Some other question?
Yes.
Can you explain the process of changing majors?
Yes.
So the question is, what is the question? So that they
Can you explain?
The process of changing majors?
Sure.
can you repeat it so you will be there?
Can you explain the process of changing majors, please?
Absolutely. So it depends if you want to change majors between colleges or within the same college. I mean, if you want to go from, like I went from the College of Letters and Sciences to engineering, it's a little harder to switch between colleges. You just need to, there's different requirements. If you're within the college, then it's pretty easy. Like let's say you want to go from MPB major to bio-sci with MPB emphasis, it's really just one form. But if you're switching between colleges, you have to meet a certain requirements. I think that it depends on the major. I know for biomedical engineering, it's just you need to complete 21A, 21B, Physics 9A, Physics 9B, and you have to a cumulative GPA of 2.7.
So once you changed your major over to biomedical engineering,
Yes.
were you actually certain and true that you woke up every day saying that this is what I wanted to do? And
Of course not.
no,
Absolutely not. I mean, in fact, when I switched in my mid-second year.
What was the question? I want you to really be there because it was very low. Could you be loud so it will be?
I said that once you changed your major from pure science over to biomedical engineering, would you say that you really woke up every day with the certainty that this is what you wanted to do and you had no doubt?
Well, obviously there's always going to be doubt. I mean, when I switched my second year again, none of my classes transferred over. I started taking 19 to 22 units a quarter to catch up. And I mean, I've never taken that many units before. But you know what the difference was? The difference was I would go to the classes and actually enjoy the subject matter. And even if it was difficult, I'm not saying that I got all A's in every one of my classes once I switched, but I certainly enjoyed the material to a greater extent. I went to class and actually wanted to learn the material. I mean, when I was in the computer science classes, it was just, okay, this is how to make a program more efficient. Really? That's a test? Make this code more efficient. I mean, for some people, they really enjoy that. But when I switched into chemistry, getting to Gen Chem, Gen Bio, MPB, not only did I enjoy the classes, I saw that I was actually doing significantly better with less effort. And so it's one of those things where if you enjoy something, you're going to want to put more effort into it. And if you put more effort into something, chances are you're going to do better.
Any other question? Feel free to ask questions. This is a good resource to have.
How about I turn it around? Why are you guys in this seminar? Why did you want to take this seminar? I'm curious. Anyone? Like, what did you expect to get out of this?
I want to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. So I want to kind of not fear certain things that, we deem awkward or kind of holds us back from what we really want to do. So that's good.
Right. I mean, obviously it's been 3 years since I've taken this seminar, so I'm not sure if what's changed since then, but
What book did we use, on course or?
Right.
Yeah, we have a completely different book now. This is actually much better. But still you can see it's not the book, it's not the way we do it, it's if you are open. If you're really open and you try to be courageous. You know, the book did not stop him to do what he really loved to do, even though he was so good in computers. That's the message. Because we are so good on something doesn't necessarily mean it's for us. It's for, as he said, our passion. That's a message that we don't hear it very often. Because we hear if you are really good at it, that means you love it. That's not necessarily true. You could tell us why you became good at it. Because you told me a story about your parents, you wanted to help them, they didn't know what to do with their computers. It was out of compassion. And then you became good at it and you felt good and everybody says, well, you're doing a good job. So you were driving a little bit, perhaps out of ego because you felt good that you're doing a good job. But it was not really your passion. Isn't that true? From what I understood from our discussion.
yeah, pretty much it's nail on the head. I mean, it's hard, especially if you're good at something and you don't really enjoy it, to switch out of it because you are good at it. I mean, don't you want to do well in something, If you're going to put that much work in, of course you want to do well. But as Dr. Chubadaki said, it's an entirely different thing to be good at something than it is to be passionate about something. I mean, hopefully what you're good at is what you're passionate about, but it's not always the case.
How did you find the courage to stand up for yourself and take action?
How did you find the courage to stand up for yourself and take action?
More loans, more time to graduate, all these classes, they look like to be wasted. How did you get the courage?
Well, I mean, I looked at, again, it's all about frame of reference, right? I mean, if you look at, oh my God, I'm going to spend a 5th year in college, I'm not going to graduate in 3 years, I'm going to take on all these extra loans, none of my classes count anymore. Okay, that sounds awful, right? I mean, who would ever want to put themselves in that position? But again, it's about frame of reference. I magnified my frame of reference, and I took it from a broader perspective, and I looked at, you know what? Getting this degree in computer science may only dictate the trajectory of something called the rest of my life. And so when I looked at it from that frame of reference, that I'm going to get a computer science degree, which, I was doing undergraduate research already. I already had an internship that was paying, I think, $20 an hour, and that was a freshman. Obviously, it's great money. But I said to myself, am I really going to work this hard for the next 2 years in classes I don't really enjoy, even though I may do well in them, just to get a degree that's going to lead me to something that, yes, it'll get me a job, yes, it may get me people and say, oh, you're so good at your job, blah, 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 but it's not going to be something I want to do the rest of my life. I mean, isn't that what we all want to do, is to take the experiences we gain from college, which are essential to the rest of your lives, and apply it to something that you're going to really find fulfillment in. I mean, money's obviously a very strong driving factor in all of our lives, clearly. But when I looked at it as, I'm going to be doing something, yes, it'll net me the money, but it won't be something that I want to do for the rest of my life. I said, you know what, it's worth the trouble. It's worth the extra loans. It's worth the hardship for what it may, hopefully, I mean, obviously I'm not a graduate yet, but I'm a senior now, and I'm already 3/4 through my curriculum. Hopefully leads you to a path that you find fulfillment in, and that's what I feel that I'm going towards. I mean, obviously, I actually retained that internship at the defense contractor, despite me switching majors. I now have this internship at the Med Center, and this actually led me to, I'm actually trying to create a new vehicle between UC Davis and the UC Davis Medical Center for undergraduates to try and get research positions for them, for scientists and engineers as well. Again, all of these things would not have been possible had I not switched. And so obviously hindsight's 20/20. When I first switched, it was terrible. I was taking all these classes. I said, am I really making the right choice? But now that I'm in the position I am now, it was clearly the right one, and hopefully it continues on to be the right decision.
It will continue, Greg, because when we do something with love, synchronicity comes in, the so-called synchronicity. Everything is working so beautifully. And if there are any small bumps, they just go away pretty soon. The ones that have done this, they know this is very true. It's just like a miracle. Just come explain with your mind. Everything comes together in a beautiful symphony. So be courageous to try it. Any other question? If you don't have any other questions, we'll let Greg to go.
Well, I appreciate all your time, everyone. Thank you.